All right, three, two, one. We are recording. Hello, hello. I am David Gonzo Mamano on the Gonzo Experience Podcast. So excited to have you here today. Today, I have on the show first of all, he's a friend and he's just a great, positive entrepreneur who has done incredible things, continues to do incredible things. And then what he does too is he shares all. He goes behind the curtain, talks about the good, bad, and ugly. And that's why I love the great Russ Sorrells. Russ, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, David. Always enjoy an opportunity to chat with you, my man.
Well, you were one of the first guests on my show almost 4 years ago, and here we are. You got more handsome, and I don't know about me. I'm going downhill, but you are just doing great things. Tell us what you got going on. I know that you're like the entrepreneur's entrepreneur. You got like 4 or 5 things going on all the time. You just sold a business. You're trying to sell another one. You're buying new stuff. You're doing new stuff. Give us kind of like like what is going on today in the entrepreneurial world of Russ Sorrells.
Sure, David. Well, again, appreciate the opportunity to connect with your audience. Hopefully I can deliver some value for them. But right now we are on a roller coaster, right? Darren Hardy wrote the entrepreneurial roller coaster. So I was kind of at a low. I mentioned to you earlier, at the end of last year, a lot of stuff going on and feeling a bit helpless. And when I'm sure you've experienced this in your career and in your life, that when you feel helpless, it can really turn you into a spiral of misery and depression and everything that goes along with that. And that's kind of where I was ending up last year. But had some things change because I got really proactive and realized, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? This is all the stuff you talk to people about not being. I was being helpless, feeling sorry for myself and all that stuff. In that time between Christmas and New Year's, I don't know if I mentioned this on the last time that we spoke, I always go to the library or take time, at least 2 days to kind of do a recap of last year and then do a reset in a goal setting session for the next year. I've done that since I graduated college in 1994. I started that routine of doing that and have never wavered and I've done it ever since. And I don't say that to brag, but I say that is a key time for me personally. And when I came out of that, I realized that the way that you get out of your funk is by taking action. And so, like you mentioned, I sold a business and I'm in the process of exiting another business because, you mentioned the entrepreneur's entrepreneur and I had this vision. I had a lot of success with CapEx. Wherever it is. So CapEx and that success, I had some cash and what do you do when you have cash? So let me tell you the first thing I did. I grew up, I had no money at all, right? And I was on a mission. I was gonna make it, and I talked to my dad about how I was gonna buy an airplane and do this and that, and so I was on a mission to be a person in my family that had money. So I got money. I had $75,000. I started a business and I accumulated some cash and I had $75,000. Like, what do you do? What do people do that have money with 75,000? So there was this new development going on. Now this is 2009, right? I don't know if you remember 2009, David, but it was
great year. Yeah.
Right?
Booming year.
So there's this new addition. And if you came out and looked, they were selling lots. And if you came out and looked at the lots, they would give you a set of golf clubs just for coming out. I mean, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant strategy, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not a sucker, David. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'll take your golf clubs, but I'm not gonna buy your lot. I'm coming for the golf clubs.
Right.
Well, you can imagine what happened, David.
So how was the lot?
Yeah, well, I still have it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That was so every time I will never get another set of golf clubs because every time I pull one out, it's my $75,000 set of golf clubs. But anyway,
did your game get better?
Oh gosh, I tell you. So, but anyway, I bring that story up because as it relates to the entrepreneurial challenges, I had money. I got kind of bored in what I was doing. And so I said, what would people do? These private equity companies, they buy businesses. And, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said, you got to diversify your income streams and everything else. I'm going to buy a car wash. And so So a partner, a buddy of mine, we went in, bought a car wash, and I don't know if you know what it takes to run a car wash, but I sure didn't. I thought, how hard could it be to run a car wash? It was a full service car wash with an oil change component. We bought this business, David. It was cash flowing $40,000 a month.
Not
I mean,
bad.
it's a no brainer.
No brainer. Yeah,
You can't
absolutely.
lose. You can't lose.
Yep.
So now, David, it is not doing so hot. So, from an entrepreneurial perspective, I let my mouth and my greed and my wallet overload my back and gave me too many things to do. So
What happened? Why did it stop cash flowing $40,000 a month?
Well, because I didn't understand. So the business that I owned and that I built, CapEx Sales, we are a sales rep agency. We sell automation. We sold $250 million worth of equipment in my career since we've had the business. So that's where I excel is in selling capital equipment, engineered solutions to companies. Well, I thought, how hard could it be to have another business? And so I bought this business, not knowing anything about car washes, not understanding just the demographics of people that I was going to be working with. I typically work with engineers and business owners and people that need to buy equipment that have millions of dollars that they need to spend. A little bit of different culture in that environment as opposed to the employees that we would have at the car wash or the consumers. I was a business to business guy, not a business to consumer guy. And so I thought I could just plug somebody in as a general manager. And I put my, who would do this? I put my brother in there. I mean, he hadn't worked in like, I don't know, a year or two, but it was a no brainer to put him in there because, he's cheap labor and he has, some smarts about him.
Well,
but he had never run a car wash. He could barely manage himself, let alone manage a car wash. Right. Yeah. So just because the old owner had done so well in building the business, it actually survived for a couple of years doing pretty good. And so we were, patting ourselves on the back, but we went through a succession of managers and it began to spiral down. And it's a real challenge. Now we've had another car wash that's moved in a quarter mile down the road that, that was competition that we didn't have when we started. So just a lot of arrogance and thinking that this is going to be a no brainer caused us to really stub our toes.
But it's a lesson. It's a lesson, right? So.
Oh my gosh. So many lessons came out of it. And so one is to really focus in and do one thing. My most success has come from managing CapEx, being and doing that business. And then I have parlayed that into success with another business that is more professional oriented. It is business to consumer, but it's in the medical world. And so that's been a lot of fun to rebuild that business over the last 3 or 4 years. So anyway, I don't know if that was anywhere close to answering the question that you had asked there, but we've got a program through our coaching stuff called Own Your Category or the World's Best. And so where we help companies to become the world's best version of them, not themselves, but as a company. Like I mentioned to you earlier, you don't have to be Apple to be the world's best consumer electronics company. You can choose with 100 people or 10 people or 5 people to be the world's best at what you do. But it takes discipline. It takes a lot of focus and taking time to identify exactly what matters in your business. So I've been doing quite a bit these days as well. So.
Well, I know that you've really gotten into for companies to tell their story, right? Storytelling, right? And we've been talking about that a little bit lately. Tell us a little bit more, like what is that, and how can companies benefit from really authentically getting into their story?
Yeah, so you've probably heard a lot about the hero's journey these days. That's something that Joseph Campbell is the originator of the idea of the hero's journey, and that is the cycle that every story goes through, and it has through the history of humanity. We've learned, we've told stories forever, right? So stories resonate. So if we're going to connect with someone, it's important that we tell that story. Just like we were talking about your approach and your new web page and some of the new content that you're creating. What we want to do is align the story and messaging with a message that's going to resonate with our target audience. We have a tendency to want to thump our chest and talk about how great we are, and how awesome, you know, our company is, and everything that we can do for you. But that's not what people want to hear. People, you know, really want to hear the solutions that you have provided to other people. They want to see those examples. They want to hear stories about your success. And it's ideal to align your story with solving problems that are relevant to your customers. And that's really what that story messaging is all about. And so that's
Yeah.
what
So would you be able to give me an example of like a company that tells their story really well?
Oh man, off the top of my head.
Or what if you were to tell me, like, for your website, how would you tell your story? How would that story go?
Well, so I'll tell you, for one of the companies that I'm involved with, Prosthetic and Orthotic Institute. So what we do is we help patients get back up on their feet, right? So life has left them in a tough position, and so if you have diabetes, as an example, it could be highly likely, if you get a wound on your foot, it's not going to heal, and that will result in an amputation. And so that's the low of lows. So we talk about, you know, that is a low spot. Where we come in is we believe. So POI Believe is the name of our website, because we believe in our patients' ability to get back up, to get back up on their feet, and get back to a normal life. So we tell the story of that journey, of how it's going to work for them. Yet, you know, life has left you in a tough spot. We're going to be here. We're going to come alongside you. We're going to be essentially a paraclete from a biblical perspective, and we're going to help you get back up on your feet, and again, back to a normal life. So that's the messaging that we communicate at the Prosthetic and Orthotic Institute, as opposed to telling patients how amazing our prosthetic and orthotic solutions are. Right. So which story resonates? You know, one that talks about the patient's journey back to getting back on their feet, which is what they want more than anything, to try to get back to a normal life, or, you know, how amazing our stuff is.
Well, yeah, the story, because you're the double meaning, getting back on your feet, right? So mentally and physically, right? So, and that's what these people want, right? They want both, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what we do on our website is we've created many of our patient stories, right? So we have patients tell their story of their low points, and then what helped them to get back up on their feet. And they don't talk about how the Prosthetic and Orthotic Institute, you know, made all the difference in the world for them. They just tell their story. And then through that journey, the potential patients, you know, people that are going to have an amputation, can have some level of encouragement about their future, and know that they can make it through this, that others have been there and done that, and they can survive as well. So that's really what the story that we want to tell.
That's fantastic. Here, there's many reasons why I like you so much, Russ. But I think one of my favorite is that you are so authentically excited about helping people, right? And you've had massive success in business with CapEx, and you just sold it. And I don't want to know. I don't need to know how much, but how big the bag of money that you have in your house right now. I'm sure you did very well. But you're not bragging about that. You're talking about the car wash experience and the lessons learned. How you're talking about the golf club experience, lessons learned, right? You're talking about how even though you've had some great business and financial success, and personal, you got a beautiful wife, kids. You have the American dream for sure. Yet a guy like you with all the success and all this positivity, you threw it out there that later in 2020 you were down, right? You were down, having trouble getting out of bed to get the day going, and then you talked about how you fought back to get back on track. But I think it's if you don't mind, I want to ask you a little bit more questions about that, because we as entrepreneurs, we tend to be a little bit more, I'll say, volatile, experience the highs and lows of life. Some of us do have some various versions of manic depression, ADHD, and that's why maybe we don't fit in that peg of just quote unquote the normal work life, right, or normal life in general. We need some different water running through our gills, right? So what do you think caused you to kind of feel down there for a little while, even though you just sold CapEx for, I'm sure, a good buck. You've done very well in other business ventures of yours, and like we talked about, you have a great personal life as well. Why do you think that stuff happens, even to the best of us?
Sure. Well, that's a great question, and definitely something that I want. If I could share anything to help anybody get through a scenario where you're depressed, you're feeling really helpless, right? So I felt helpless specifically around the car wash, because the car wash experience has not been consistent with my personal brand, right? And I look at anything in my life as a reflection of me. And so its lack of success really has, it has worn on me for a year. I mean, this has been multiple years in the process. And even though, we're trying to figure out an exit strategy for that business, it's been a real personal challenge to get through that exit. And when you wear that you think, my gosh, there's nothing I can do. We've changed managers, we've changed strategies, we've done this, we've done that, we've invested money, and nothing seems to be bringing the patient back to life. And so for me, I had a sense of helplessness. And so when I realized that, man, maybe I'm experiencing a level of depression. I have a friend that's a doctor, and I talked to him about it. He's like, yeah, man, I've been there with you. And he was telling me his story, and we talked that through. And then I started studying, I don't know if I have the book here with me, but I started studying Martin Seligman. If you're familiar with him, he's one of the fathers of positive psychology. At some level, he wrote a book called Flourish. And in Flourish, that was the first book that I read by him. And he talked about an acronym that was really helpful for me, because the goal of for all of us, every single person, is to experience well-being. He doesn't like the word happiness because it's so overused. He likes the word well-being. And so for me, hearing his story as he talked this through and told many stories in the book, it just resonated. This acronym, it's called PERMA, PERMA. So P is for positive emotion. So we need to experience positive emotions in our lives. The people that we're with, that we're around, in order for us to maintain a positive approach to life, an optimistic outlook, we need to be experiencing those positive emotions. We need to be engaged. That's the E. So we need to be engaged in work, engaged in life, engaged in our relationships. We need to be engaged. And when we have that, again, we manifest that sense of well-being in our lives. The R is for relationships. We need to have meaningful, deep relationships in our lives with people that matter and that will lift us up, when we're down, and they tell us to get our head out of our ass whenever we need that too, right? But those meaningful and powerful relationships are really important. And then the fourth is meaning. We need meaning. We need a reason to be doing what we are doing, the purpose, the drive. That is some of the motivation that keeps us engaged and moving forward. And then the A is for achievement or accomplishment. So we want to have a sense of accomplishment in what it is that we're doing. And so when we experience those 5 things in our lives, we have a great or high sense of well-being. And I said, gosh, and then he gives some different techniques and different strategies for what he calls learned optimism. So we can actually get ourselves out of this feeling of helplessness, which is where I was in, can't help myself. So I, picked myself up and said, stop your whining, let's make a plan. And then so I've just been executing the plan ever since then. And it's been amazing. I mean, this start to this year for me personally has been unbelievable. I'm so excited and motivated. It's quite the contrast to where I ended up in December, but it was thanks to not my doing, but the story that Martin Seligman helped me to work through, which is the importance of having So what Martin Seligman, I go a little bit deeper on this to explain something, what he determined in all of his studies, and he studied thousands and thousands of human beings to try to understand what causes depression. And what he determined, what they've determined in all of their studies, is that having a pessimistic explanatory style. When we have a pessimistic explanatory style, what we do is there are 3 P's associated with that. One is we take everything personal. Right. So everything in our lives is personal. I mean, it's about me. It's about me. It's about me. Right. So that's pessimistic. This happened to me. And then the second P is that we feel it is permanent. Right. So it's going to be like this forever. My life is ruined. It's going to be like this forever. That's the pessimistic outlook. And then the third P is pervasive. It's everything. It's the entire country. It's all a mess, and there's no hope, and so we lose hope and with that negative explanatory style, and it's really difficult to pull ourselves out of that when we feel that everything's about it's all on us. This is a permanent problem, and it's pervasive. It's everything in our lives. But the people with an optimist, so his studies have found that people with an optimistic style. Explanatory style, really important. That's the voice in your head, that you tell it to shut up every now and then, but it won't. That explanatory style, when it's optimistic, people do just the opposite. They don't take it personal. They say, well, this is the reason, or they assign cause, right? So they find cause, not to avoid responsibility, but to avoid that pessimistic, that depression that comes from putting it all on themselves. They feel it's temporary, right? This is just this one instant that this happened. You know what? I made a bad decision buying a car wash. It's not everything about. I've had lots of success elsewhere, so that's not representative of my full body of work, but it's definitely representative of a part of that, but it's not everything. And then the pervasive, again, is it's not everywhere. Not everywhere in our lives is a teetotal disaster. If we live in the United States, you've got many blessings to count, despite what they try to tell you in the news. So anyway, that's
Don't watch the news. Don't watch the news.
No, man, I tell you what, there's nothing worse than
Russ, what's the name of that book again?
What's that?
Seligman.
2 books. Yeah, 2 books there that I would recommend to your audience. One is Flourish, and then the second is Learned Optimism. Phenomenal books. And so the practice. So he talks about some different practices. So what I've been doing every night since the beginning of the year is I sit in my bed and I write, I am grateful for, and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day, every night, no matter what. And that, that going to bed with those positive emotions is it's helpful. I mean, voodoo, I'm not to get all voodoo.
No. Have I ever been on that list? Have I been on that list?
You will be tonight.
All right. I made it.
Absolutely. And that's the funny part too, is it's almost always, it's not about attaining things, or it's about, for me, it's about the people that I experience life with. I mean, life is not meant to be lived in a vacuum, right? I mean, when we experience life with people, it is so amazing. Right. And that's what really what I've come to realize in all of my studies is that, life sucks without relationships. Life sucks without people that are meaningful and that you would do anything for, and that contribute value into our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love
one of those people, David, without a doubt.
I'm here for you. I love that. No, if you need a kidney rush, you give me a call. I'm here for you. Right? No, you're truly a great human. Truly love your soul. And it's funny you're talking about optimism and pessimism, because I literally have on the whiteboard in front of me a quote from Winston Churchill. You probably know this by now, but it says, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." Right?
Yes.
And it's just a twist, right? It's just a twist, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think, the thing that I've experienced, or some things that I've experienced in life is, people are like, oh, well, you got to live in reality, or that's a Pollyanna. I had a customer tell me one time, we were sitting around trying to work through it. He's like, oh, Russ, you just want us to sit around the campfire and tell stories about, and sing Kumbaya or something like that. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That is what I want. I mean, how much more fun would it be if that's what we were doing, as opposed to yelling at each other about the terms for this particular opportunity?
Right.
So,
yeah,
but,
I love it.
Well, one of the things too, I've been studying. I want to talk about this just real quick. Something I've studied and I've really been focused on is the idea of adding value. And what I want to teach my kids to do is continue to grow their value. So we have people that show up and they want money, right? So the people at the car wash, they want to get a raise. I want a raise. I want a raise, right? That's the conversation. And I get it, right? But the deal is, then when I try to help them understand, is that we get raises for adding more value, because the value that we bring is what the market is going to reward us for. So if we want more, and we can have as much as the market will give reward us for, but we only get that by adding value. So what are you doing? What are you doing today to add value to your customers, to add value to the market, to add to your ability to add value to the world, to your wife, to your kids? That's the idea of adding value, continually growing our value. There is no limit. There's no limit to the value that we can deliver. And the people that get paid the most in the world, that earn the most, or that we honor the most, could be the sister, what was the nun?
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa, thank you.
Yeah.
So Mother Teresa. So it wasn't about money, but she added tremendous value to the world, and we still honor her, today for the value that she did. So it's not just about money, but it's about the value that we are able to add. And so if we continue to increase that, if you have a business, continuing to think through ways that you can add value to your customers, not being obsessed about the cost to you, but about the value that you're delivering, the market rewards it. It has to. That's how it works. That is a law. And so if you just have a day job, or you just have a day job, right? So not that being the entrepreneur is everything in the world, but I'm saying if you work at a company, just focus on adding value every single day, and your value to the market, it may not go up for that company, but the market will recognize your value, and you'll be able to go elsewhere and command more if that's what you're looking for.
Love it. Well, and also too, isn't that the recipe to cure depression? Service to others, adding value to others' lives, right? So I think we talked about that before. So, So, well, Russ, super fantastic. Thanks for being on the podcast again for an encore interview. Truly appreciate it. If people are inspired and fell in love with you as I have, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, I appreciate that. So you can just email me at russ@ownyourcategory.com. You can ask me any questions. I'm open to anything, and kind of an open book. If I can help, if I can add any value to you, if you're trying to sell something and you need an idea on a strategy to take, then reach out to me. If you're trying to come up with ideas on how to own your category or be the world's best, let me know. Happy to help. So just want to add value, especially to Mamano's audience.
I love that. The Gonzo tribe loves Russ. Thank you so much, Russ. I wish you continued massive success, and thanks for being such a great human. I'm glad that we're friends.
Hey man, appreciate you. Have an awesome day. Take care.
All right. You too. And thank you, Gonzo family, tribe, whatever you want to call yourself. Appreciate you listening, watching, whatever you're doing today. Make sure that you guys have a great day. And of course, stay awesome.